Michelle, I'm happy to start whenever you think we're ready.
You are good to go.
All right, awesome.
And let me bring up the presentation.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. Before we get started, I'm wondering if any Spanish translation is needed. We have our Assistant City Manager, Edith Ramirez, here, who speaks wonderful Spanish. So if that is the case, we would be happy to translate now or later.
And perhaps if the answer, Edith, perhaps you can ask that question in Spanish and then ask them to raise their hand if they do need it.
Sí, buenas tardes, bienvenidos a esta junta de esta noche de parte de la ciudad de Morgan Hill. Me llamo Edith Ramírez. Queremos saber, antes de empezar la junta, si alguien de los que nos están acompañando esta noche quieren que la presentación sea traducida a español. Si la quieren que sea traducida a español, por favor, levanten la mano. Michelle, how do they raise the hand if they're on the phone? I think we have one caller.
Star 9.
Para la persona que está llamando, si quiere que la presentación sea traducida en español, marque estrella 9. Y si no levantan las manos, vamos a dar la presentación en inglés completamente. I think we're good to go, Miss Rebecca.
Okay. So are we doing the Spanish translation?
I don't think so. I didn't see anybody raise their hand.
Okay, just let me know if it changes. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Rebecca Garcia. I'm the Housing Director for the City of Morgan Hill. In just a minute, I'm going to introduce you to the rest of our team. This month of May is Affordable Housing Month, and there's dozens of really cool virtual workshops, webinars, and lots of creative community engagement opportunities to help educate, activate, and really engage the public, around the housing challenges that we're all facing as a community, and more importantly, the solutions that we can pursue together. One of our wonderful partners, SV at Home, has done a really great job of getting all of the cities and community-based organizations together and putting on all of these events in one place for you. That calendar is available. We will type it in the chat in just a little bit. Thank you for giving us your time and your attention. This is something we're very passionate about. We're going to jump right in and do our best to share with you what we offer here at the City of Morgan Hill, our housing programs, and equally important, how do you access them? What are the first things you need to do to access housing today? We know we're living through a shortage of housing now more than ever. I probably don't have to tell you that, but I just did. And we want to help you navigate the housing programs that we do offer and provide you with some tips for how to search in today's housing market. Next. Tonight we are going to cover three things, essentially. What is affordable housing? It's always a mystery and people think it's for other people. And so tonight we're going to share with you, what is it? How do you access it? Who is it for? And then we also want to spend a little bit of time talking about what to do if you're experiencing homelessness, who to talk to, or who to contact if you know of someone who's experiencing homelessness. Okay, so who is affordable housing for? It's essentially income-based housing, and all of our families, all of us have different incomes. So affordable housing takes that into consideration. Another term to think of is really income-based housing. We could also think of it as workforce housing. This is for our residents, this is for our youth, the aging population. We refer to our workforce now as essential workers. It's absolutely for our essential workers, our service providers, people with special needs. So many people are being priced out of the Bay Area. And there's so many different job descriptions, right? I mean, grocers, the agri workers who feed us, the bankers, our small business owners, our mechanics, our restaurant workers, our farmers, our utility workers, our police, our teachers, educators, librarians, waste and sewer workers. So many in the service industry qualify for affordable housing. Next. A little bit about our policy. So how do we even get affordable housing. The city receives affordable units in different ways, but one of the ways that is important to you is our Inclusionary Housing Ordinance program. We have a local policy where our community and our council has said we require a certain percentage of all residential developments that are coming into the city of Morgan Hill to be developed and affordable. So if a project comes forward, a residential apartment community or a for sale residential development, and they'd like to build in the city of Morgan Hill, 15% of that project has to be affordable. So 15% of those apartments or homes that are for sale have to be affordable. If it's outside of the downtown, and the same is true if it is inside of the downtown, but at 10%. And so this ends up being called our below market rate program because we have this local policy that requires that these units be built. It generates affordable units that are also referred to as below market rate units. And again, this is just all income-based housing. In just a moment, we're going to talk about House Keys. They're our administrator. They help us oversee this program. House Keys is important agency to know because they're the ones that are going to show you how you access these units. We have a very healthy development pipeline right now. As you can see, there's lots of construction going on. We do have units on the horizon, both rental and ownership. Not only the ones that are in the pipeline that are coming under construction, but also units that currently exist. And so people move out of these units, they move on, they move away, you know, whatever the situation may be. So then that unit becomes available again. Again, it's the House Keys website, and Julius is going to walk you through that in just a second. A little bit about our program. We're really proud of it. Every 1 in 8 homes in Morgan Hill is income-based or affordable. That's throughout the entire community. We have affordability sprinkled out. Sorry, our computers are a little bouncy today, but nevertheless, our portfolio consists of about a total of 1,700 units, 1,780 total affordable homes in Morgan Hill. We have 550 in the development pipeline that are going to be under construction. We have, of that 1,700, we have 560 that are ownership for sale units that already exist. And remember, sometimes these families move out, they move on, so those units become available again. So House Keys is the one that's going to let you know when those ownership units are available. We also currently have 1,220 rental affordable units that exist today and 839 mobile homes. So how do you know if you qualify for income-based housing? Let's let's get to the point, right? How do you know what you're eligible for? Next, there's 2 questions that you essentially want to ask yourself and answer for yourself. 2 questions. This part, you have to do this part for yourself before you even begin to understand what you qualify for, what you're eligible for. So number 1, what is your household size? How many people are in your family? Right? Is there 4 people in your family, 2 adults, 2 kids? What's the number? And then the second question is, what is your total household income? So again, ask yourself these 2 questions. This is going to empower you to really understand where do you go and what programs you can start to try to access. You want to figure out whether you're in one of these categories: extremely low income, very low income, moderate. Forgive us for the terminology. It's just terminology that we use to get an understanding of where folks are, so we know where to try to place you. We're in such a high cost area. Don't be alarmed or surprised to know that low income, as you can see, these are high incomes in any other area, right? But because we're in such a high cost area, you could be a family of 4, 2 adults, for example, and 2 kids. And let's say your total household family income per year is about $117,000. Well, guess what? You're in the lower income category and eligible for a lower income affordable workforce unit. So many people are often surprised to learn, like, oh, wow, these units are for me. Absolutely. The majority of these units are workforce units. So again, ask yourself those 2 questions. We'll put a link to this income chart in the chat. But we also always have this on our City of Morgan Hill housing website. If you were just to Google City of Morgan Hill housing our website would come up and this income table would also be there. This income table is not only important for Morgan Hill, but for any housing program you're going to try to access in any city in this county. So again, really important to first kind of get an understanding here. Next. Okay, so that income chart is going to tell you if you're in one of the what is called a lower income category, which is crazy because it's like not low income, it's high income, right? But nevertheless, once you know what bucket you're in, you could say, oh, okay, I'm going to be geared towards rental, or, oh, wow, I'm in the moderate category. I have an opportunity to go for ownership below market rate homes. So, and how you search for these homes is different. So I first want to talk about like, what are some tips for accessing rentals in not only the city of Morgan Hill, but really anywhere. Next. And I wish there was one place you had to go. That isn't our world today. I hope someday it is, and we'll all continue to strive for that. So I acknowledge that this is not easy work, and I apologize for that. There's room for improvement. We'll get there, but right now, let's just tell you in reality what you have to do to search for a home in today's market now. So number one, use social media to your advantage, right? Craigslist, PadMapper, Facebook Marketplace is very hot. Nextdoor. You want to use every single tool in the toolkit. The best advice I can give you is do not be one of the last people to reach out to a property manager or a landlord. You want to be one of the first people to say you're interested in that rental apartment. So you have to be persistent and you have to look. I would recommend every hour on the hour. I know that sounds unrealistic, but you're competing with a lot of people. So, you know, when you're in need of a housing unit ASAP, it has to go to the top of your priority list, and you got to search often because you want to be one of the first people, not the 30th person to reach out to that landlord. Okay, number two tip, get a copy of our housing resource guide. This is on our website. We can type the link in later as well. But this resource guide lists every single apartment community we have within the city of Morgan Hill. Often other cities have the same type of resource for their city. So maybe you're looking at nearby cities, but essentially these are all owned and operated privately. We do not own or operate or manage them at the city level. You actually have to call each individual property manager and ask a couple of questions. Number one, do you have an available apartment? Number two, do you have a waiting list? Is the waiting list open? Can I get on the waiting list? I highly recommend you get on a waiting list. Don't be discouraged because those units do become available in time. Months can pass and you still need that affordable unit. So I highly recommend you spend the time contacting as many of them as you have the time to do and get on the waiting list. Sometimes they will say the waiting list is not open. So call back again. And if it's open, do the legwork and get on the waiting list. Okay, tip number 4. Julius is going to go over with you in just a moment, but you want to create an account at the housekeys.org website. This is important because this is how you're going to get an email to learn when these below market rate rental opportunities come to fruition. So a few minutes ago, I talked about the city has an inclusionary policy. We require affordability in developments. Well, registering for housekeys.org, that's how you're going to learn about when that unit actually becomes available for you. So again, absolutely need to set up the account at housekeys.org. And number 5, she'll introduce herself in just a minute, but I highly recommend emailing or calling Christy Thomas. She's our housing coordinator. And because we work with different developers and landlords and property managers, they sometimes will let us know, hey, Rebecca and Christy, we have a unit available. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. And when we get those emails, we forward them to people who've reached out to Christy and said, please, Christy, let me know if you know of any units that become available. So in summary, tip number 1, use social media to your advantage. Tip number 2, use our housing resource guide, contact all of those property managers, get on waiting list. Tip number 3, Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this one. This is an important one. So as I mentioned, we have a healthy development pipeline. What does that mean? Lots of apartments and homes are being built right now. You can see construction all over the place in every city, not just Morgan Hill. When that happens and you notice construction, eventually you're going to see literally a sign outside of that construction building, and it's going to say interest list forming now, or sign up for interest list. And it'll have an email on there or a phone number. Even though it's barely under construction, you want to get on that interest list ASAP. Here's why. Because if you do, then you're going to be one of the first people that they contact, probably via email. They just do this in mass, right? And they're going to say, accepting applications now. They won't do that part until the construction is done and they're ready to lease up and, you know, invite people to start renting at their apartment. But you're going to be one of the first people to find out about it. So again, when you see new construction and you see an interest list, contact them, get on the interest list, and then be ready when they say accepting applications, leasing up now. Okay, I mentioned creating an account with HouseKeys. We're going to show you that, and then contact Christy Thomas, our housing coordinator. Next.
Sorry, I thought we were jumping to Julius. Bring it up.
Oh, I'm sorry, almost. Okay, so yeah, you're right. We are ready for Julius. Okay, so Julius is going to walk us through housekeys.org and show you how you go about navigating that website. It can be a lot of information, but he's just going to really summarize it for us and talk you through the first couple of steps that you need to think about and do. You're muted.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me share my screen here real quickly. So I just wanted to really quickly talk through the terminology one last time so you understand how each actual opportunity on the website is categorized. So for anybody out there applying, you're going to hear terms that we throw around all the time, as Rebecca did mentioned earlier and explained. There's something called your household. So every one of you should be thinking, okay, I live in an address, I'm a householder. And everybody that has a relationship to that householder makes up that household. So the first thing you're doing when you're actually setting up an account in My HouseKeys is trying to identify every member of your household, first name, last name, date of birth, confirm that they live at the same address. And you're going to set up what's called a member profile. So a member profile is for every member of your household. The other thing that you're looking at is income. You heard us talk a lot about income. So this is your gross income before taxes are taken out that you plan on earning in the next 12 months. So not over the average or the last 2 years, this is over the next 12 months. And for each income source, you're going to create something called an income profile. So between your member profile and your income profile, that's going to tell us the total number of household members and also the total income. And that's going to put you in the income category. So where we're headed and why that matters so much is because once you see a listing for a home for sale or rent, you'll notice that we're always focused on this income category. Low, this one's for very low, this one's for very low. So depending on where you fall in that income categorization, that's based on that total income and total household member count. And you saw me bring up this slide a little earlier. So what do we mean by income category? And that's what we meant. Every county in California, all 58 counties have 58 different median incomes. So if you drove up and down the highway and drove through Santa Clara County or San Mateo County or San Francisco County or Alameda County or Contra Costa County, you'd be in a different category based on the same amount of income or same number of household members based on that number. And it's important to see that because sometimes you can kind of lose that. But if you look at each one of the counties in California, as you scroll through this, and this is the state's website, you can see Alameda, Alpine, Almador, we have all kinds of median incomes. So you're in a different category depending on where you're located in California. So what HouseKeys does for every city and what we've done for the city of Morgan Hill is that every city has a HouseKeys website that just basically pulls the information away from the larger city website and just focuses 100% on the housing information. So in the city of Morgan Hill, which is our first city, their website is housekeys1.com. And so when you go to housekeys1.com, you'll see this information here. And you'll see a getting started page that will let you know how to start the process. And then you'll be registering at housekeys.org. Rebecca mentioned housekeys.org. That's what the main website looks like here. And you'll see this page here that's called create an account. And so once you go to create an account, you're going to log into myhousekeys.com and see something like this. And so after you verify your email address, you're going to create an actual profile. So that's going to be, are you an applicant or participant? You're going to select that you're an applicant. So when you go through that process, you're going to put in a date of birth. So I'm just going to put in some numbers here just to keep us moving.
And Julius, while you're doing that, the reason you want to be an applicant is because you're not in the home yet, right? Let's pretend for a second you did buy a below market rate home today. Well, then you become a participant, or you moved into below market rate rental today. Then you become a participant, but you're not there yet. So that's why you want to select applicant, because you're still in your housing search.
I'm going to put in my address, and then this is putting in information here as the primary applicant. So whoever's completing this profile first, you're the primary applicant. So remember, we talked about that householder and everyone has a relationship to you. Ideally, that householder, that primary applicant, is the person filling this out. And then you know the information for all the other household members. So depending on what I answer here, information about demographics, all that information is here. And then once I actually enter in everything that's basically checking this box, then I'm going to end up with a profile. So I'm going to show you what a profile looks like. So a profile is going to have a total number of members. So each member has a member profile. So if I added a new member, I would add information about every member in my household. And I would add information about every income type that I earn. And that gives me a total member count of 4 and a total income of $60,000 a year.
And Julius, what I love about this is if you scroll up a little bit, it automatically will tell you, oh, okay, I'm in the above moderate category. So if you don't want to deal with the whole chart that we mentioned earlier, and you go through this process, it's going to tell you which category you fall under. So you don't have to deal with that.
Exactly. So once you have your information profile, then every single program that you want to look for, you're going to go into what's called the Program Center. And you'll notice on the Program Center, there are programs, drawings, opportunities, and FAQs. And I want to talk a little bit about these 3 terms, what we mean by that, for definition's sake. So when you go into the system, a program essentially is the way that we organize every single city's policy. So if you think about Morgan Hill, it was talked about in the very beginning, they're requiring developers to produce both rental properties and ownership properties. So one policy that requires both really needs 2 different programs. So you have a rental program and you need an ownership program. So HouseKeys organizes all of the opportunities at the top level by program. Each opportunity is a listing of a home available for rent or for sale. And so when you think about us talking about the word opportunity, what we mean by that is a listing of a home that's available for rent or available for sale. When you go into a program, we'll show you in a minute, you're getting an application ID for that program. So you're not actually applying for any particular opportunity or any particular home at that particular moment. You're making a connection between your household profile and the program itself, and that's your application ID. When you see an opportunity that you want, the way in which you enter that opportunity is term number 8, called drawing. So the purpose of a drawing is to take all the applicants to say, hey, I want to apply in the city of Morgan Hill for the rental program, no matter what rental opportunities become available. So once you get an opportunity listing, you're going to enter the drawing that corresponds to that particular opportunity listing. And then in order to determine who gets selected as the renter for that particular property, a lottery or a selection process is held to determine the selection order. And then lastly, you're going to put together a file. And the reason why that's important to kind of understand this terminology, programs are really here. Like we said, you're going to request an application ID for a program. Once you have the application ID, you'll see the different program opportunities there. So for Morgan Hill, you'll see that every opportunity is listed here. Now notice, as we talked about, there's low, very low, and low. So these are 3 different opportunities. But you'll notice these numbers here right underneath the program name. These are the drawing numbers. So if I want to enter to have an opportunity to rent any of these units, I've got to enter the drawing for that particular unit. And I'm going to select this property as my primary because there's not more than one. But if there was more than one, you would actually identify what order you want first. So if there were 3 properties in this drawing, you'd say, I want this property as my first choice, second choice, and third choice, and so on. So once you're in a drawing, House Keys then ranks everybody based on a lottery. And that's essentially, that drawing process that you're going through is essentially how you get access to every single program. Once you understand what drawing you're in and we send out that notification, then you're going to submit a file. So the file is something that we talk about on our website a lot. One of them is housekeys.org/renter file, where we show you here how to package a renter file. The file includes a few different things here. There's going to be the application packet, where you're going to provide information to House Keys about your household size. You're going to provide information about the income level. You're going to provide information about your assets. All of that's going to be in your application packet itself. In addition to the application packet, you're going to have to go through a tenant screening process with whoever the property management company is that's actually running that particular project. So they're going to screen you for credit scores, make sure you make enough income to afford the rent, and do any criminal background screening that's allowable by law. Once that tenant screening is done, you have that initial packet completed, you're going to go right back to your My House Keys account, and there's something you'll notice called the file cabinet. And the file cabinet is essentially the place where you're going to upload documentation that supports what you provided when you filled out your information profile with regard to your member and your income. And that information in the file cabinet is broken down by the different tabs. So my application documentation will go here, and you'll notice that you'll hit the question mark. It'll explain to you what each one of those tabs means. So my income, again, is going to be here. You'll see the tab. It'll explain the 12-month projections. You'll upload supporting documentation there. You have your assets, your qualification document.
And so I think a really good point for folks to know is if you could walk them through how they sign up for the orientation. Because essentially you want to go to the website, register for as Julius mentioned, but then this is a lot of information. So really your very next step is signing up for the frequently asked questions and also an orientation, because they're going to go over all of this in depth and you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. We acknowledge it's a lot of steps, but step 1, go to the website, House Keys. Step 2, he's going to show you how to sign up for the very first thing, which is the orientation. They're offered multiple times every month. And the frequently asked questions is also really, really helpful. So again, housing searches, it's not easy, right? It's like step after step after step. But what I love about the House Keys website is once you go through the steps you need to, you're going to get emails when units become available. So just think of it as another tool in your toolkit. And right now, given our situation, you have to use every tool you possibly can.
Yeah. So and the event calendar is there. Registering for an orientation is fairly easy. You can just click on the link for the orientation class and literally just register. And then those are held at various times throughout the course of the month. Every Friday, we have a FAQ session at 12 p.m. So you can always sign up for an FAQ session every single Friday that happens at 12 p.m. And every other Saturday, we hold a 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. session on Saturdays. It's also an FAQ that you can ask directly to the staff.
Thank you so much, Julius. So the city contracts with house keys, and again, there are partners in this work. They're also very passionate about housing and affordability, and they have built this site. They do this work for multiple cities. So it also gives you an opportunity to learn about housing opportunities in other cities as well. Again, use every tool in the toolkit. Thank you so much, Julius.
Sure.
All right, Michelle, we are back. And I think the next slide is talking about homelessness. I want to take the opportunity to introduce Brian Malikdem. Brian is one of our newest teammates. Really thankful to have Brian. His contact information is up there. I'm going to turn it over to him to introduce himself.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brian Malikdem. I'm the City of Morgan Hill's new unhoused specialist. It'll be my primary role to connect people who are struggling with being unhoused to the appropriate services, including like housing, medical, anything that they need. So if you know anybody that's struggling with homelessness, or if you know anybody that's at risk of becoming homeless for whatever reason, there are resources. Feel free to contact me. Text is probably the fastest way to get a response to me. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. And the great thing about Brian's role is he will go out to you. He will go out to, if someone is in an encampment or a creek or in front of a store, Brian will go to them to make it easier. We acknowledge that it's already a difficult situation. And so our goal is to build that relationship and provide that service. We also have a homeless safe car parking program at the Morgan Hill Bible Church, Brian. So that's just one of the many resources that Brian can let you know about. We have a cold weather inclement shelter program that we operate in Morgan Hill with Community Christian Church. Lots of great partners, hot meal programs. We do not directly provide all of this service, but again, Brian is here to make it easier for you and figure out what you need and provide the support. Thank you, Brian. Next.
Thank you.
All right, now I'm going to turn it over to Christy Thomas, our housing coordinator, to share a little bit.
Hi, everyone. Like Rebecca said, I'm Christy Thomas, housing program coordinator for the city. And I honestly am so happy to be here and glad that we're doing this because we get so many affordable housing questions. So my main role is to support the overall city housing program, but I do direct a large amount of my time to finding and passing along housing, temporary shelter, rental and utility assistance, food, and also program resources to our community. But of course, my biggest effort is trying to find people affordable housing. And so I set up a notification list because I was getting lots of inquiries about how do I get housing? How do I know? So if you or anyone you know is interested in getting on the notification list, go ahead and send me an email and I'll place you on that list and I can send out an email to all of you. Back to Rebecca.
Thank you, Christy. Next. All right, well, I think we've introduced our team. I'd also like to introduce Edith Ramirez if she's around. She's our Assistant City Manager of Community Development. And one of the things we're going to be working on together is getting the word out about our housing programs and helping folks access them in English and Spanish. And so I'll turn it over to her for just a sec.
Oh, just thank you. I just want to thank everybody that is joining in. It's so wonderful to see so many guests joining us tonight. We have some chats on the Q&A, so I think this is when we just open up the floor, Rebecca, if that's okay, and try to go through the Q&A. And I know that there's others that may, at least there's one person that has raised their hand as well. So how do we help you, Rebecca, go through the questions?
Michelle, do you want to take the raised hand first?
Absolutely. So Mayra, you should get a prompt to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Yes, hi, my name is Myra. I work for Community Solutions. I'm in the housing program. So I had a question about the housekeys.org. So you, when you make a profile, and I know Julius, he went through, like he showed like the different counties. So when you make a profile, does that mean that you can apply to any county? Does it give you access to all the available units in other counties that you can put yourself on, like on the, not the wait list, but on that list where it showed like under like 350?
Thank
So
you.
are you, or is
Are
it
you
only
asking?
for the city of Morgan Hill?
So just quickly, so the website that we have is for any city that House Keys is a representative for. So
Okay,
the properties that we just showed you were just the ones that are available right now in Morgan Hill. But as Rebecca said, the inventory comes and goes, new construction comes and goes. Then there's also vacancies that happen after new construction is built. So it's for any city that House Keys represents.
And
We're
Julia,
about
16.
so
Sorry.
then, so when you entered the lottery thing where it said like 350 in parentheses, is that how many people are interested in that one single unit?
No, that's the drawing number that opportunity is inside of. So every drawing is identified by a number, and that 350 number was the number of that drawing.
Okay, got it.
Did you have any
Okay.
other questions, Myra?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Myra.
If anything else comes to mind, please feel free to raise your hand again. And then we can jump into the Q&A. I think our team is answering them, but for the benefit of everybody participating, I can go ahead and read them aloud, if that helps.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, so our first question, household versus owner, is that the same? My aunt lives with us, but she is not our household member, or is she? We will buy, she will not be contributing. She's on Medi-Cal and on her separate account. How does that work?
Julius, you want to take that one?
So just, sorry, repeat the question. You said your mother's living with you. She won't be owning the property?
Yeah, so it sounds like the aunt lives with them. She's on Medi-Cal, but she would not be one of the home owners.
But she would be a household member.
That's what it sounds like, yes.
The quick answer is yes, she is part of your household.
Yes.
And she will count, and any income will count.
And so just to be crystal clear, they would count the aunt. So, you know, the husband, wife, aunt, and any children. So if they had 2 children, there'd be 5 total household members, and they would include any income that the aunt receives with their income.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
for any member of the household that's 18 years of age or older, their income is included in the total household income that goes towards that category that we talked about. That income is included.
Perfect, thank you.
And
Our
Julius,
next,
I was going to say, Julius, if you want to go to the Q&A on the chat, you can also follow the questions on the chat, on the Q&A.
and our next one is, what if the numbers and categories don't change when I submit income for myself, my fiance, our son, and unborn twins due any day? And congratulations.
yeah, congratulations. What if the numbers and categories don't change?
It sounds like in the application process, perhaps the system isn't updating.
The income categories change every year by the state. So the federal government changes the numbers first, the state updates their numbers. So they change every year.
The trend we've seen is they keep going up.
What if a drawing date has gone by, but the property is still on the site?
It could be that we might still list the property for backup renters, just in case the folks that did rank higher in the lottery don't work out. So we typically will let you know if it's no longer available, you wouldn't be able to enter the drawing anymore, even if it's listed.
Okay, and then I think maybe a follow-up question to that question was, can I still apply for ownership?
Yes, you can apply for both rental and ownership. They're 2 different application IDs. So if you wanted to apply for both, you'd get an application ID for both.
Okay. Do I need to attend all orientations from all cities?
For each city that you want to apply for, yes. Each city has to have its own orientation class because every city has a different set of rules.
Perfect, thank you. So that is it for those questions. And I will say that Nick Gage had asked if we could put together a trifold pamphlet that we could provide to business owners that they can disseminate to their new hires and as they're recruiting. And so our team would be very happy to put that information together and circulate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, for home ownership with the BMR program, Are we financing through the city of Morgan Hill or through a bank?
A bank.
Through a bank.
Okay. What if my wage is $15 an hour now when I apply, but when the lottery is offered, my wage changed to $16 an hour? Then what happens?
So you're going to have your income reviewed by an underwriter. So that was the other part of that stage when we went over the files. So even if you enter a lottery and you're selected, you might be underwritten a month later or weeks later. So that $16 would likely be counted in that scenario.
That's a really important point. Income changes, right? Like we're all on different incomes. My first job was at a video store for $5.50, right? Like income changes. I needed a really extremely low income unit. Fortunately, I was with my parents, but that's why it's so important to think of housing as just a spectrum, that we're just like moving around and hopping around at different places at different stages of our life. Okay.
It looks like we have another hand up. Elvia.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I have a question. So for the ownership, I already did the application and all that. And probably 2 weeks ago, they sent me the drawing number and they asked me to upload the documents, but I wasn't available to, I was out of the state, so I wasn't available to submit those documents. My question is, if I apply for the ownership, do I have to have a loan already approved?
Yeah, so when you apply for a lottery, what you'll see is there's two key important dates. One is the deadline to enter the lottery, and then the deadline to submit documentation.
Right.
When the deadline to enter or submit documentation hits, you have to have a loan pre-approval at that point. That's the minimum amount to buy a property. You have to have that loan pre-approval in place.
And for that, do you guys help with that, or I have to look by myself?
We have a list of approved loan officers on our website. And the getting started, there's a getting started link that you'll see there. As soon as you get there, that getting started link will get you to the list of loan officers.
Oh, okay. And I can apply into any of them, right?
Any of your choice, yes.
Okay. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here tonight.
I think that's all of the questions in the chat, Michelle.
Yes, so far that is all the questions in the chat. If anybody in the audience has a burning question, please do feel free to raise your hand. And I'm not seeing any hands go up. And just for everybody's, if you wanted to go back and watch this later, the recording will be up on our website. You can Google housing. We have a town halls page where all the videos and presentations from our town halls are saved. And so with the presentation, we do have QR codes and links to the email addresses and websites. So if it's easier for you to just scan it to reach out to Christy or Brian, or to access one of our web pages, you can do so. We do have another hand up, Mario. And Mario, you should get a prompt to unmute.
Hello.
Hi.
Question is with the new, I've been seeing a lot of pop-ups about the new California down payment assistance program. You guys familiar with that? And is there programs and assisting us to apply for that?
There is down payment assistance available. It's not offered by the city, but the one that I know of right now is through the Housing Trust of Silicon Valley, and also the County of Santa Clara in the near future offering down payment assistance. But right now I know the Housing Trust has down payment assistance available. Team, anyone else know of Julius or Christy?
Yeah, there is currently a California home buyer program. And I don't know anyone that's actually helping with that program, like walking someone through it, but I do have the website and I could get that to you. and see if I can find someone that may know some more information about it.
And just in general, there at the state level, there's CalHFA, which is the California Housing Finance Agency. Their website has down payment assistance that comes in and out. The county has down payment assistance, and some cities do. So I know we talked about, you know, the latest program that's there, but realize that all three levels of government, there tends to be some amount of down payment assistance that's available. And your loan officer, key loan officers are really where you want to go, because they're the ones that are going to let you know if you have the credit score, the income, et cetera. So find a good loan officer. On our list, we have a lot of them. They will be the ones that can really walk you through that. You don't want to do that openly without having a loan officer helping you navigate that.
And the loan officers that are on the House Keys website, they're familiar with this program and they know how it works, which is, you know, not the case of the traditional industry. So that's important.
Mario, did you have any other questions?
No, thank you.
Me too. We do have a question in the Q&A. There's two. What does a loan officer have to do to get an approved LO status?
So a loan officer has to attend an orientation class and register. They pay a fee. We walk them through the process of being a loan officer, and they also agree to have their legal department review the restriction agreement. So loan officers primarily have to make sure that they can lend against the restricted property, because you don't want to spend all that time with a loan officer only to find out that they can't lend against the restricted property. So think of all these affordable units that we've been mentioning today. When you talk about home ownership, these are resale restricted properties. So there's a restriction recorded, and that's what gets in the way of what a lender's allowed to do with that property.
Thank you, Julius. And our last question in the Q&A, is there assistance for deposits for rental units?
Yes.
There is deposit, and I'll send you, I'll put a link in the chat for that as well. Sacred Heart, Salvation Army, all those folks. And actually, if you email me, I can send you a flyer.
Yeah, I would recommend emailing Christy Thomas at morganhill.ca.gov, and then she can provide you the exact contact info. There's 3 or 4 different agencies that do it. Housing Industry Foundation, Sacred Heart, St. Joseph's, and there's a 4th one who I'm blanking on right now, but we can send you the right folks.
Perfect. And as we wrap up, I'll just bring up the slide with Christy's contact information again, so that anybody who didn't get to capture that earlier can take that down. So here is Christy's email address and phone number. And if it's easier, you should be able to scan that QR code and email her directly from there. And just thank you again so much for everyone taking the time to join us, and don't hesitate to reach out if there are other questions you have or any other services that we can provide.
Thank you, everyone. We look forward to doing this again. I hope it was helpful to you, and good luck on your housing search.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.